Hello and welcome to another edition of the SPFL Through the Lens. And tonight, our special guest is this man, Brian Kerr. How are we doing, Brian?
Hey Peter, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. So, thanks
Into
for coming.
Holy moly! Bad day at the office, son.
Aye, listen, it's been a day off today, mate. I'm chilling and I've been dragged onto this to speak to you guys. So
It's a busy day. You said you were off today.
day off today, aye, feet up the day. Been a busy couple of weeks, so.
No, on that golf course, Kelso.
No, I really need to get back to the golf course. I've decided I'm building a wee man cave at the back now, so that's taking up all my time, mate. Priority.
Well, what I'll do is I built a wee footage up for yourself as well, Brian, just to go through some pictures of your career and stuff, and the clubs that you played for. So here's a wee sort of run down memory lane. So you're at Dundee, Scotland internationalist.
Loving the hair. Loving the hair.
Oh, as a belter.
Some styles there. I can give it a hair transplant actually after that one.
I think you look like Batty in that Newcastle picture.
A young David Batty. I look like I could do a couple of steak dinners.
And then obviously, this is a big goal by a Leverkusen.
Yeah. I think I jumped.
That must have been some night.
Was I? That was mad, actually, because we had to win that to qualify through that game, and he played me and Stevie Caldwell in that game. We beat them. I think it's 3-1 it ended up. Oh, another one where I just shut my eyes and swung my legs.
Pick it out.
Hey, so were you playing that game?
Aye, you should have played me in. I was in the bottom right hand corner.
That's why I shot.
Look there and there. You can see me. That's the only game I'm actually playing.
You must have come off the bench in.
No, that was the first half, mate.
Oh my lord.
Did you start that game? I was a gaffer saying he was going to give Aberdeen a chance.
Aye.
What a belter of a goal. First strike.
Nah, it was one of my favourite goals. I didn't score that many, but I tended to score them. They were all longer distance.
Now, this was a big goal for you, was it no?
Nah, it was my debut actually, my first game for Hibs.
No way you've headed the ball, Kelso.
One, I can't believe I headed it. Two,
Aye.
I almost got into the 6-yard box. How many more I've heard it?
You shut your eyes, didn't you?
Oh, I shut my eyes every goal I scored.
That was a wee run by some memories there for your football career. What would you say was the most enjoyable time in your career, Brian?
Apart from playing with me, Kelso.
Apart from that, aye. No, I think Motherwell was. I think Newcastle was amazing because of all the reasons of big club, went there, started my career there and always wanted to do it, and then kind of hit the heights of playing in the Premier League and managed to play in Europe and stuff. That was probably the success that you get for that, and the expectations that happened there were unbelievable. But I think my time at Motherwell was probably the most enjoyable. I think anybody that goes to Motherwell and plays for them, and you see the amount of boys that end up wanting to go back, you know, like so your Scott McDonalds and Stephen Hamills and Piros and all these guys go and leave, but they always get dragged back to it at some point because feeling you get in the place, it's a real tight club as everybody probably speaks about, but you do feel a real sense of, being part of something special, but something that's really tight. You know, everybody for the chairman to the cleaners, and that's the way it should be really in these clubs, because everybody's in it together really. And I know it's all cliche stuff and that, but when you play for a club like that, you feel everybody pulling in the same direction, and it gives you that real sense of enjoying your time there. And played with some great boys, some great mates, and guys who are still very good mates now. So,
and then you'd Sean.
And I played with Sean. No, but it was in fact probably loads of people have asked me the question, and everybody turns and thinks it's Newcastle. And as I said, for what I did there, made my debut, and that I'll always be kind of, delighted about how that went there. But my actual best time in terms of my career was definitely at Motherwell.
How did the move to Newcastle come about at such an early age?
I think when we were younger, scouts came to games, and there was probably about 20 or 30 players moved about all the clubs. And they played for almost, you would train on a Monday with Hearts, a Tuesday with Hibs, a Wednesday with Aberdeen, and Thursday with Celtic, Friday with... And that's just how it went. But it was the same boys that went to every club. And I was actually playing for Rangers in a bounce game against Newcastle. We were playing them at Maryhill Juniors, and we drew 2 each, and I scored 2. And the scout at the time spoke to my dad after the game, actually, and asked us to go down. That was like game on the Saturday. Asked us to go down the following Monday to a Monday night football first team game at Newcastle. And pretty much went down, and it was like red carpet material. It was unbelievable. So my dad went, he got wined and dined. I went, got strips. I think I actually ended up with a Spreelier strip, and went in the first team changing room before the game. My wee brother was a ball boy. So they just couldn't do enough to get us there.
Built out the stops.
Just felt at that minute in time it was right.
He was some player, was he no? A Spreelier?
They had... at that time, when you look at the team, and I always go back to there now, that the teams then, at Newcastle going past, they kind of... Some of the teams now, you look and go, if I could only just maybe have delayed my career for 10 years, I might have done all right.
I mean, I think I said to you before that for the pressure playing for Newcastle, it must be, I would say, near on par with any stretch of imagination, on par with Old Firm, because Newcastle are a one-city club with fanatical fans.
Oh, definitely. There's a massive amount of fans there that their life revolves around the football team. All week, if you go to Newcastle, you'll see strips every single day of the week, as you do up here, as you say, with Old Firm. But that's what it is down there. They love eat and breathe football, and they just can't wait for that club to do well. And like mentioned before earlier, that the time I was there, Newcastle were flying high and everything was great. So I only ever knew Newcastle as being a sort of top end team battling away for challenging for the title and being in Europe and that, and it's almost a bit sad to see now. But the expectation levels that we had then, they wanted to go and win it. But I think they're realistic. The expectation's high, but they're realistic with it. Newcastle fans, they're delighted to be up there challenging. They're not over the top in terms of thinking or demanding winning leagues. As long as you're giving everything and you're at the top end, then they know that's enough for them. As soon as they see people slacking off, then that's when their fans start to go on people's cases.
I mean, not only did you play, obviously, the best of the best in the Premiership, but I mean, you're up against teams like Juventus, Leverkusen, Inter Milan, Barcelona. I mean, what's that like? Not a lot of players can say they've done that.
I know, and you know what? It feels a wee bit surreal now, looking back on it, that you did manage to sort of hit some of the heights and play against some of the teams and play in some of the stadiums as well. But at the time, you genuinely just took it in your stride. You didn't think anything different. You didn't believe that you were anything bigger than anything else. It was your job. It was where you were. It was a level you were playing at the time, and it was just about getting the head down and doing it. Really, there wasn't. You didn't think of anybody else and what achievements you were getting to and the heights you were starting to hit at the time. It's no problem until now. You look back a wee bit and go, do you know what? That was all right. What I done at that stage.
Amazing. And then obviously working under Sir Bobby.
Yep. One of the best, if not the best, for me. Just how he could galvanise a full club in a changing room and probably even a squad. I've spoken about this loads as well. Managers now struggle to deal with squads because it's so hard to keep a full 30-man squad happy. Bobby Robson managed that, and I never ever heard one bad word about him at any point for any player. And how you do that, but continue to pick an 11-man sort of team in a weekend and keep maybe 30 big names at the time, really big names at the time with Shearers and Speeds and Bellamy's and Ayers and loads of others. How do you keep them happy? And it's a challenge and something that I start to think about now that I'm stepping into that side of it, the coaching side.
Yeah. Jason?
You talk about Kershaw, about some of the big names like Shearers and that. I was doing a wee bit of research only the day, and all in conjunction of COVID, how we're all desperate to get back and whatever. And I've read something about Nobby Solano with a trumpet. What's the deal there? Tell us what's happening here.
Nobby played in a wee jazz band thing, and sometimes you'd go into Newcastle City Centre and he'd be in a pub playing in a wee band. Just like they had the wee steel drums and the trumpets and all kinds going on. And he done that. So sometimes you'd go into the changing rooms or you'd go to the training ground, and at like 9:30 in the morning you'd walk in the front door and this wee trumpet would be belting through the corridors. And you'd go into the changing room, there he was playing away, just playing his wee tunes. And he had loads of wee instruments he would bring in. Same on a night out. You could go on a night out and sometimes after it you'd go back to one of the guys' house. But Nobby always seemed to have some kind of instrument. I don't know how he found a way, but he had an instrument. And he would be the one at the parties playing some kind of little instrument. But it was mad. But he was an RV guy. He kept the place going. Great for team morale and that, and all these wee daft stories that he managed to hang with. I remember him one day walking about with a water bottle tied to a bit of string, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He said, "It's my wee dog." Walking to the training ground for a full day with a string and a water bottle, just mad. But that's how he was.
So just on that then, what sort of instrument do you think Big Butcher would have gave to Sean then for all the times at the side of the pitch? Would it have been a
flute?
A flute? Oh, a flute!
A flute.
Right, Peter.
There would have been a few instruments. They wouldn't have been able to play music with them right enough. Maybe a boot or something off the side of the head, maybe.
So what was it like playing with this guy? Was he a bit of a joker back then?
Aye, well, Fakeso when I come in, he was one of the kind of up and coming, not younger boys, because I was only quite young myself, so he was coming through with like Willie Kinnebra and that, and they'd already set their ways into this team. They were in scoring goals and doing well before I'd got there, and they had a real good young squad at that time, and that continued. That was Motherwell's way. When you think of the older boys in that team at the time, were like Craggs and Marty Corrigan that, but then when you went below that, it was all our age, it was all us boys, but we were only 23, 24, the nucleus was round about that, so it was a bit crazy, let's say. There was probably a wee bit more nights out than there is now. There was pretty much a couple of nights out a week, which always went a bit daft. Tuesday night was always a good one, and then Saturday after a win, so we had a great young group, Faisal included in that, and a lot of others, and we all got on great. We had a good team bond between us, and we enjoyed our time. Certainly, we enjoyed some victories and some big victories at that as well along the way.
I mean, I was looking back there. Did a cracking game where you scored the opener, a 4-each game against Celtic.
Mad game that was. Mad game. I don't even know if I started that game, believe it or not. I think I came on. I think it might have been the day Scott Leach done his Achilles, and it was he done his Achilles early in the game, I'm sure, and I came on, and I remember the goal well because it wasn't even that long ago I showed the kids that goal. Try to reminisce and go back. It took a while to find it enough, but I found it. So and I showed them, and I think they were a wee bit like, "Is that actually you?" I said, "I believe it was I." But a great goal, another one that I enjoyed. Like I said earlier, I didn't seem to try to score many tap-ins because I couldn't get that far up the park.
Who had the worst gear in the team?
Oh, worst gear? It's a tough one. Who do
you think, Sean?
Marty came out with some howlers, Marty Corrigan.
Aye, possibly.
He used to bring the gear in with him. He used to bring that gear in with the big try and buy off it. Nobody ever bought it.
Oh, was he trying to punt this stuff?
Aye. Marty was in everything. Craggs had a couple of dodgy stuff on all Kelso.
Aye, it tended to be the older boys probably had the worst gear. Everybody thought they were trendy then, didn't they though? But if you look back at the gear now, you'd be like, wow, could that wear? It's like the Man United picture of the 5 or 6, I think it was Rooney and all that, and Ferdinand and all them with the big baggy jeans and all that. If they look back at that now, they must be thinking, wow, look at the states of that outfit.
I can mind the Kershaw coming into a certain nightclub in Coatbridge with an half cheek on. I'm going, Kershaw, that went more than 30 years ago, pal. Come on. I now know where he got it from.
I maybe just picked that on my way out.
So obviously there were good times.
I think it helped as well, Kershaw, sorry, Peter. I think it helped as well. When you came in, it was all like you played with a lot of boys with Scotland at the time.
Aye.
You had Piero, you had Hamill, you had Faddy, and it just helped you fit in it, Mullo or not. And like you said, there were the age group as well. And you had the next group was myself, Kenny, and then Clarkey, Coach, all the ones that's coming up, and it just fitted in well for us.
It just continued to go. It was the way Motherwell was, and there was always 5 or 6 young boys coming through every single year that that's the next batch. Because I think it was maybe even we Fitzy, and that was just after that.
Aye.
So we always had that, and it did. It made it great for any boy coming in, but any young boy coming in. And to be fair, it was very welcoming. I know there's some dressing rooms you go into and it can get a bit difficult to fit in, but like Sean said, so I'd played with a few of the boys with under 21s, and Maurice Malpass was the assistant manager at both the 21s and Motherwell at the time. Mm-hmm. So the sort of big lure for me was going and playing with a group that I felt I'd like, and I heard enough about the club for Hammy and these boys anyway to tell me that that was at the time something I wanted to be part of.
And you had been up loan to Livingston, didn't you? Did you have your leg break up there?
I broke my leg at Fir Park playing for Livingston. So there was a few ups and downs with injuries as well. Let's just say.
I mean, going in if the stats are right on this, anytime you scored, you weren't in a losing team. Is that right?
Oh, Peter, I think it was any time me and him played together, we weren't in a losing team.
Well, it could be that and all. I didn't look at the squad list. It was just your sort of goals stats. I mean, you scored against Celtic, that was 4 each. Scored against Dunfermline, you won 3-0. Kilmarnock 5-0, 1 each. You scored, and it's at Ibrox, 1 each.
Yeah.
1-0 against Hearts, 1 each against Hamilton, 2 each against Inverness, 4-2 Ayr, and Inverurie locals. That was a big game.
Massive game.
Jason.
Yeah, that was a highlight.
Jason.
Yeah, because I'm looking at some of the teams. Obviously, Peter's already highlighted Coventry, Livingston, Motherwell, blah blah blah. Right. I'm looking at teams that could have been quoted Borussia Dortmund and Bayer Leverkusen. Was that after Newcastle? Was that Motherwell time or?
No, that was after Newcastle. That again come about with the Scotland 21 thing. So Rainer Bonhoff, who some would call me Brian Bonhoff Kerr, because they felt that I was his almost love child. No, he took a good liking to me, and I done well for him and played well under him, and I really got on well and liked his ways. And when the Newcastle thing came to an end, he phoned me right away and said, "Listen," he spoke to a couple of people over there and said, "Borussia Dortmund want to get you over." I was in Florida at the time with my wife and a few friends and stuff, and I was a bit like Borussia Dortmund, because obviously at the time they're a massive club, and I'm thinking, nah, and then I didn't know what I was going to do, and I said, "I'll phone you back." Anyway, when I got to the kind of the nitty gritty of it, it was more going out in a trial as such, but Rainer could kind of say to me, "Listen, it's what all German teams do in this kind of situation. You're young, you're not like playing every single week for a big club. They've got to spend money, so they want to see you within their thing." So I said, right, I might have a look at that. But then I'd agreed that I wanted to go day one of pre-season, so if it took 3 weeks, fine. But they said, no, we like to get our own boys in for the first 10 days, and then we'll bring anybody else in after that. And I was thinking right away, if they, being Germans, if they're in for 10 days, think of how they're going to be after 10 days. Imagine then going into after that, they'll be flying, and I was thinking, I don't know if this is right for me. And then Motherwell thing came up, and people might look and go, why would you pick that over Borussia Dortmund? But like I said earlier, there was no guarantees with that. I worked with Morris and some of the boys at Motherwell, and the other thing about, obviously, if you get an injury at any of these things, obviously if I went over there and trial and get injured, they're kind of left in limbo a wee bit. So the sort of guarantees a wee bit more at Motherwell outweighed the potential of going there, I think, for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to break it up. Normally we do a sort of question roulette where you pick a number 1 to 10, and I just throw in a sort of odd question. So if you could use a number 1 to 10, Brian.
4.
Right, so number 4. What's your favourite sport movie?
Oh, good question. I was just talking about a few the other night.
Jerry Maguire is mine.
Aye, good, very good. I like loads of sport movies as well. I like that. I liked Invictus. I quite enjoyed that for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
American Highway. I like
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans is great. Speaking about that the other night as well.
Rocky.
You can't beat Rocky. I'm just about to say Rocky's always a classic.
What's the favourite one though?
The Russian one.
4.
Rocky 4. Always Rocky 4, aye.
Aye.
Best soundtrack ever.
Rocky 4, 100%. They're all good.
John, what Leprechaun ones is yours?
Up in the morning to you.
Right, so, with your career, obviously you've been a lot, and you would say Motherwell's your best. You played with some fantastic players at Motherwell as well, and obviously the Phil O'Donnell. I mean, what was Sean obviously outlined his thoughts during that tough time, and it was a difficult time not only for the players but the fans and the clubs as well, and the whole of Scottish football.
Aye, I think you see all these when somebody dies or something happens to somebody. You seem to hear a lot of people coming out the woodwork and saying what a great guy and he was brilliant, he was this, he was that. But I think he epitomised, anybody saying somebody was a great guy and a great person, a great role model. That is him down to a T. I don't think there would have been, if I ever heard anybody saying a bad word about Phil O'Donnell, I'd be surprised, because he just seemed to get on with everybody, and that's teammates and rivals and everything. It didn't matter. Phil's obviously had been at Celtic now, and I don't even know if I've heard the Rangers fan have a bad word to say about Phil O'Donnell. So
no,
it tells you everything everything you want to know about a person. As I said, in terms of, I didn't ever know Phil until I came to Motherwell, and the way he acted as a role model, done what he done, how hard he worked when he was fit, even when he wasn't fit, and trying to get back to fitness was unbelievable, and the work and effort he put in to get there. So. And he's obviously, his undoubted ability and the way he was still going at the time, which seemed like an older pro. But I think, like you said, everybody had that. When you seen the hundreds of thousands of people's out seeing him, and in terms of his funeral and all that tells you everything, because there was people from all over Scotland, England, and every club in both areas. Players and coaches and fans going to see and give him a send-off it deserved, really.
Nah, definitely. There were one specific game that obviously I hold dear in my heart.
Fuck off, Peter.
No, obviously, Helicopter Sunday. That was a big game for you.
That was another game that me and Kershaw played together with.
I know. Now, one of the highlights that I got was obviously when one of the goals went in. Hammy seems to celebrate a lot more than what I expected. Would you know? Him and Butcher.
Well, the actual story goes back that we were actually on not a bad win bonus that day, I think.
Is that what it was? He was just seeing the pound signs.
So that was the last game. There was holidays coming up and the boys were going to enjoy their summer. So
Kershaw, remember that week? We hardly trained. We played Rangers the week before it. We got pumped 4-0. And Big Terry singing at the window shouting at all the Rangers fans. Nearly take another heart attack. And then we're away Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We hardly trained. We were playing golf in Wishaw Golf Course. I think we were walking down with a bottle of Budweiser each. I
think we were still doing that Saturday morning. I think everybody had pretty much wrote us off, and it was almost like a celebration party ready to happen. And you seen that, see when Celtic scored their goal that day, there was fans jumping up for every corner of Fir Park. They were everywhere. So what you thought was some Motherwell fans in the main stand and that wasn't. I think half of Celtic fans might have had a Motherwell scarf and top and just when they scored they bounced up. But you quickly seen the empty seats once Scotty scored, and then when the second one went in, it was almost like there was nobody there really. It was just wee dotted fans everywhere. But the game was unbelievable. It was a surreal game again. Like we were holding on. There's no doubt about it. Celtic were battling us for a bit. And then you almost felt it turning after about 65, 70 minutes. You thought, you still got a chance here. It's only 1-0. Mm-hmm. And then the confidence started to grow. And then when we were playing the Old Firm back then, nobody was expected to beat Celtic and Rangers. You know, now they go into games and you think, oh, they could beat them. Mm-hmm. But then if you beat Celtic or Rangers, it was massive. So it was like everybody just accepted it was done and dusted, and we go 1-0 down, and then first goal.
Well, I've got the goals, and for fairness, I put Sutton's in there as well, Sean. Just that I don't want it to be a sort of so to show off any sort of bias or anything like that. So if you bear with me 2 seconds, I'll just get it up, and then you can talk. You can both talk me through what your thoughts were.
I blame Kerzo for that goal. Kerzo, cheers, mate.
There was a wee bit of ice.
I was a wee bit reluctant to show this goal because obviously, but I think it's because he was off balance, to be honest with you, because you were going one way.
No, there was a wee bit of ice in the box and I slipped on
it. Because you were going away there and then you're having to backtrack.
To be fair, I didn't see, I don't know, is it Marsh? Is it Big Marsh that's in goals?
Aye.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking he's just got to get a touch on it and push it that way, and he actually gets a bigger touch on it than expected, and he actually claws it almost back the way. So that was kind of a poor start. To be fair, I was still coming back with a bad knee injury, and I don't know if my knees were right at that point. I think maybe that's what it was. I wasn't turning as quick as I could have.
It was a bottle of Budweiser on Saturday morning.
It might have been.
Right, so I've got the equaliser coming up here. Good goal, isn't it?
Great goal. He's got that in the locker.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Now we can't see it here.
Can you know?
You've not shared it.
Have I know? Oh, for Christ's sake.
That's why you're at St. Mum.
I'll get it back up. Because obviously it's a cracking goal.
I'm doing some moving a bit here, aren't I?
I was going to say, you all right? Your back clean up.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Great finish. He's got that in the locker.
Yeah, what I was talking about with Hammy.
Aye. He must have seen the win bonus as well. I don't know if I'm seeing a win bonus. I don't know if we're on. Look at the stands as well. There's just wee guys jumping up everywhere, but then there's like so many folks sitting down. That's meant to be behind the goals, meant to be full marathon. Look at all these guys out here, not even sitting celebrating.
Well, I'm going to tell you that was.
Wow. You know, some man
Sean, was that all your neighbours when you stayed in Netherton?
That was just the Celtic supporters. Busters helping it.
You know, Brian, I never even noticed that.
Aye, that was what the full place was like. It was mad when they scored. Folk were everywhere. When we scored, there was just wee random guys jumping up. It felt mad. But listen, what a day it was, and what a night it was as well.
Because I never even noticed that with the crowds, and then the second goal. I mean, it's obviously these games are I will document it.
Great pass, or was that a clearance? Look at how's he not squared it?
I thought she squared it now. I'm at the edge, Pierre, so you know that's in right of the bar.
That's you, aye. Laughed it by the post.
What does he like to play with, Scott McDonald?
Scott McDonald was a moany little shit, but in a good way, to be fair. His standards were high. He moaned about everything. If he missed a chance, your pass wasn't right. If he took a bad touch, your pass was too hard. But his standards were high, and to be fair to him, he went on and had an unbelievable career. And actually, when we were at Partick Thistle there, we brought him back in, and he was like a changed boy. I think he just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to play it the last few years and enjoy them, and take away that he always had this wee nippiness about him. But again, just because he set his standards so high, he wanted to be the best, and that, there's nothing against that. But he relaxed and done us an unbelievable turn as well, because he probably single-handedly kept us, got us away fair problems we were in at Partick Thistle at the time.
To be fair, Kershaw, see that before he came to Mullow, he was at Southampton, he was ready to chuck it and go back on the road.
Aye, that's right. I think he was getting a bit fed up with it, and
aye.
I don't know, for whatever reason, even at the start, you didn't see Scotty doing what he done. It probably took a wee bit of time to see the real him, and that kind of helicopter Sunday almost changed his life, really, because his name became, a household name for the obvious reasons. But then after that, he just, he continued to progress and just get better and better, and then moved on to some of the stuff he moved on to, and had an unbelievable career, and still going now.
So now you're a coach at Motherwell. How are you enjoying that?
I love it, aye. The challenges are different, much different. You sometimes look back in your career and go, was I as hard work as that to coach at times? But because there's so many challenges along the way, and it's hard to get some of these boys believing what you're telling them. When you're telling them, I've been there and done it, and I'm telling you that's wrong to do, and try and do this and try and do that, and it's almost like, and you go, do you know what, that was probably me back in the day. Coaches were probably telling me the same things and try to help me along the way, and you think you know better. But I love doing it. It's great sense of achievement, especially when young boys start to go through and get themselves closer to the first team, or make debuts or whatever, and get into the first team. And that's ultimately right now taking that under 18s group. What the job entails is try to get them from us top end of the academy into the first team group and beyond.
Yeah, Jason.
Yeah, so with regards to Peter highlighted your debut against Hearts, when you're scoring your debut. John Collins, am I right in saying who's the manager then?
Yeah.
The season after, big part of lining. I'm curious to see what happened there with the big man.
Nah, there wasn't anything obvious in terms of there wasn't any big fallout of that. He decided not a big fallout. He decided that he wanted to go down a different route, which is fine. So he played me for quite a bit, and then for whatever reason decided he was going to go another way, which was fine. And then stopped.
Not listening.
I wasn't fine. I wasn't fine either, right? But I wasn't going to let him kind of get in talk. And I think he could have done, if he wanted that to happen, fine, but he never at any point came, spoke to me about it or told me, and he started telling me with the young boys, which again, even now looking back on it, I handled probably as well as I could have. And I think Donald Park, who was one of the assistants or first team coach at the time, had said, I would go on a Saturday morning training with the young boys. He'd maybe go on a Saturday morning, maybe go on every other day, to be fair. And I just trained and worked hard, kept training, and all the feedback came back to him was brilliant. And I think he probably wanted the reaction from me. Never got it anyway.
Yeah.
Until one day, it was getting to transfer window, and I think he did want me to move on. And I was like, that's fine, I'll go, do you know what I mean? Just sort out what I need to go and we'll go. But he'd put in the day before, I was one of the bad eggs, he said he didn't do this. This went in a newspaper report. Bad eggs need to leave Hibs or something, and it was my picture as the headline. And I took it obviously, as you would, pretty badly, and went in and spoke. I went in with the newspaper and I went, talk to me about it, what's this? I never said that. I said, well, they've not just put my picture with a story, although he wasn't ever quoted in the piece saying my name. I wouldn't imagine a newspaper can just print my picture. Anyway, so they got to the bottom of it, whatever, and there was an apology made, but it didn't help, and it didn't help me kind of going forward after that, because it almost sticks with you that, you know, if I was a coach at a different club and that picture and that headline comes up in a newspaper, I would be first to go, what's that about? You know, is that true? And I'd like to think anybody I've worked with, players or coach, knows I'm not a bad egg. Listen, I might have bad games, but one thing I'm learning is I'm not going to cause problems, and I wasn't going to cause problems at any time. And even there, when I was training with young boys, I knew how important it was that if I'm going down, I've got to give the young boys the respect in terms of training well, and I've got to try and say to them, you've got to train like this to try and get there. So almost give them that that's great. And we've had a few boys do that over the years as well, while coaching as well, that they've came down and you get one or the other. You get boys that will go and say, I'll dig deep, piss you off and prove you wrong, or you get the other ones that just piss it off and want to go and turn the place upside down almost. So that's what happened, and eventually, listen, I got out. I decided to move on. We agreed a package and I moved on, and that was the kind of end of it.
See then, on that, Kerzon, look at the possibility to go to Toronto in MLS.
Yeah.
I'm just quite surprised, because it was around about that time, you know, think about after that. Because, am I right, Morris Edu, was that whose role you were going to be filling there? Did he leave to go to Rangers? Did he not leave them to go to Rangers?
He did leave. I'm not sure if that was at the time. So the story behind that is John Carver, who was my assistant manager at Newcastle, was the manager at Toronto. So it was him that got me out there. Everything was pretty much agreed. Everything was almost done and dusted, and there was a problem with International Deadline Day or something. This was Toronto's, I think it was their first year in the MLS actually, so I think they had been preparing for this. This was their first year. And they've got a deadline day. Obviously, as you probably know or maybe don't know, is the transfer policies in America is crazy. You're contracted to leave. There's so much goes on. So Mo Johnston was the general manager at the time, and he was in South America signing a player, and he was coming back up. I don't know the days, but if it was a Wednesday, say, and the deadline day was the Friday, so he was coming back up to organise it and get the deal done and dusted for the Friday. But their first year, they didn't. I'm saying they didn't know. I certainly didn't know. My agent didn't know, and I'm 100% sure John Carver didn't know at the time. But there was an international deadline that closed hours before it, and that had passed, and we were still trying to get the paperwork done. And they said he's international. He can't sign now. He's past the deadline. So pretty much just died there. And then I came back, and again they said, listen, let's look towards for next year for it. But again, there's no pre-contract things in America, and there's nothing like that stuff. That's just all done again through the league. Season finishes, that once it starts again, we're ready to sign and contract players. So I came back, and then Terry Butcher again at Inverness said, listen, come up here for 6 months and sign for us, and then see how that goes. And I was up there playing, and then nothing ever really come back. I'd spoke to him, John Carver, a few times, but I think he then ended up leaving just before the kind of next season ended up again. So it was a bit, it almost happened. It wasn't like I went there and it was just a trial or something. It was almost done and dusted, but never quite go over the line.
There's a thing, obviously, I was looking at when, I know obviously after that, Dundee, and then you spent a bit of time in Dundee, you know, was it 35 games or something up at Dundee, and then, believe it or not, Arbroath and Motherwell are no far away featured, 57 with Arbroath and 79 with Motherwell. But the question I was going to say was about the management. I always get worried and I know Peter's probably no put it up, but I did post a wee hint to him the other night there. And see, when you're seeing stuff like that.
No, isn't he putting that up? What's that all about?
See, when you see that there, I don't know if you can see that.
Warning, contains strong language.
That goes back to your Albion Rovers with Big Stu on your dressing room fiasco.
Aye.
I tell you, obviously, there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. One of the Facebook guys was asking Willie McGuigan's boy, obviously my godson, Big Liam, about the Scottish Cup game against Albion Rovers. What the hell happened with that one?
What was that? What one?
The one that many.
the one that you won the game and then you found out he wasn't registered.
Aye, so that was the. It wasn't the Scottish Cup, was it? It was the other one, the league. The Challenge Cup or something.
Did you get fined $2,000 or something?
Fined $2,000. It was an admin error. So every player had supposedly been registered and signed at the start of the season. We handed all forms in and Liam signed one. So at that point, he's a registered player for me and he signed and playing. Played him in the game, and it ended up that for some unknown reason his registration form hadn't went to the SFA.
Who's getting hit for that one, Sean?
Oh, it's going to be a secretary, whoever that was at the time, Kelso, no?
Yeah, there was a bit of an inquest. I don't think anybody really took responsibility. I mean, at the time I'm saying, do I take responsibility here? But then, if everybody's signed a form and it's handed in, how do then I go and say, by the way, just to make sure the night, is these guys registered? I would think that was just a normal procedure.
Because it's not you at lodges it with the SFA.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. It must be the secretary's fault. He's either missed one or he's missed a few. I don't know.
We got fined $2,000 in a delayed thing. And listen, see, Albion Rovers, £2,000 a lot of money.
You took the words out my mouth. Aye, that's big bucks.
Aye, and especially it wasn't just that. It's then you miss out the next round, and then the potential of winning that game as well. So I was disappointed because it was a long night as well. I think I ended up going to penalties as well, and we had to go, went through with penalties. So
was it East Kilbride? Was it East Kilbride you were playing, or was it
Edinburgh? I'm sure it was Edinburgh City. Maybe.
Edinburgh City.
Edinburgh City, I'm sure it was. But tough on that because an early learning curve. Welcome to the lower leagues that don't take anything for granted and make sure that you're in top of everything.
Mm-hmm. I see one of your old teams is moving up the ranks and they're obviously proposing. East Kilbride is obviously, they've been talking for 20 odd years now that they want a professional club there, and I know the Keane guys are investing heavily into it. What's the chances of them, do you think, moving to the next level?
I think they've got the infrastructure in place. I think there's no doubt. Paul and James have worked hard over the last few years to get there. They fell short just a couple of times at the final hurdle, but I think they've got everything in place to go and do it. They've obviously shown, the squad and the pool they've got in terms of the players that they can bring in, and I'm positive that them alongside quite a few others, if they get into the leagues, then they'll continue to thrive and go forward and go through them. Certainly up, 1 or 2 leagues anyway, because I think Kelty's another. They're willing to go and back the team and back the squad, and they've actually, Kelty especially, have got actually a decent following. Go and watch them and stuff. So they would both be good additions to the leagues. To go and take it forward another step, I think.
Because there's some cracking teams in that lower league, because I've done a season with BSC, with Swifty, and obviously he's new at Stenhousemuir. He recently got appointed manager, was it yesterday or the day before? Manager. And when they had the big game against Hibs in the Cup, the following, they go at the end, and it was fantastic. for such a club. Hardly anybody had heard of BSC. I
No,
think, who the hell's this club? But yet they're always in the top 4 or 5 in the league.
Yeah, aye. Another good, great club with good infrastructure, and that's I think the lower league is full of them. Like you say, certainly the top half of it has got 4, 5, 6 teams that could easily come up and hold their own in the lower leagues. And I think that's the frustrations for. Well, you see, I've obviously been disappointed about what's happened to them over the last couple of years. East Kilbride, some of the Highland League teams, they're all teams sitting ready to go, and I think they're only got to enhance Scottish football. And I think it's vital that we start to let these teams in and allow some kind of way that teams come in and teams guarantee to go out. See this, giving them every opportunity to stay in the leagues. If you're not willing to back your club and you're not willing to go and put a wee bit of time and effort and probably finances, then why do they get a second chance at finishing bottom but have another go at staying in the league? These teams are working just as hard through the lower league with absolutely no financial backing for their leagues or anything. They're doing that just all their own money, whereas obviously some of the league teams are getting money at the beginning of the season. These teams get none of that, and they're having to try and get themselves there. But then they keep getting the let down at the end of the season, especially over the last couple, when the door seems to be getting shut just at the last minute on them.
I know. What's concerning me tonight is Mr. Fagan's been very, very quiet.
I've noticed that.
You must have some sort of dirt on him, Brian, because he's been a wee quiet mouse tonight.
No.
Normally he's giving pelters to everybody.
To be fair, I was actually looking there now, and I was going to go back to it, Kerzo, when we were Scotland squad, because you said the kind of wee golden era, didn't you? You had the chance to go and get to the Euros, or what was it, away back then? The 21s.
The 21s, aye.
You just missed out, didn't you?
We did, aye. We got beat for Croatia. It was actually a bit of a shambles, to be honest. We had Germany in our group.
Draw with them?
We went and beat Germany in Germany. We drew them at home and beat them in Germany, and won the group. And for whatever reason, the one and only year, they decided that under 21s this year, if you won the group, you played second in the other group to see if you qualified. So I think we played Croatia, who were second, and I think at the time they get beat by Italy in the group. So we then played Croatia, who were very, very good. They had, I'm trying to think, Kranjčar, that was at Portsmouth and Tottenham and stuff.
Harry Redknapp's
And
Harry Redknapp's son.
He loves that boy, didn't he?
No, how you were like Rainer's boy.
Aye.
That's Harry's boy.
They had him, and they had the boy Babic, who I think was at Leverkusen at the time. So they had an unbelievable team. And we went to Croatia, played against them, got battered 2-0, absolutely battered. And we were thinking, they're a good side, they're brilliant. We brought them back to Easter Road, and we pumped them for the full game. We beat them 1-0, and we must have had about 20 chances, and we couldn't get a second goal. I remember, I think it was Peter Canero actually had hit the inside of the post, and it bounced back out to make it. That would have made it 2-0, and probably would have went on and won the game and went through. But what an unbelievable side we had. And when you look back at that team now and the players in it, Alan McGregor, Craig Gordon, John Kennedy, Gary Caldwell, Stevie Hamill, Stevie Hughes, Michael Stewart, Sean Maloney, James McFadden.
What a team.
Unbelievable. Darren Fletcher was another. So when you look at that team now, there was loads, Tam McManus, every single one of them went on and had pretty good careers. And that was your 21s at the time. And I know even then, like you look at, a lot of folk had a bit of, Bertie got a wee bit of stick, but Bertie gave a lot of the boys their opportunity. He gave all the boys chances when others probably wouldn't.
Nah, they would have stuck to the old guard.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Just a final one for me, Kerzo. One of the Facebook chaps, you'll know very well as soon as I say the question here. The question is, ask him on your time as a youngster, who was the second best football player in Gervie? You actually liked it, believe it or not.
I know who said that. I know who said that, wee Jerry. And I just go back with Jim Weir or probably Andy Thompson.
Striker.
I don't know what one was the best or the second best, but I know they took it Jerry as well. And Jerry wasn't involved in any of the 3 areas.
Right, so give another number from 1 to 10. You picked number 4 the last time.
We'll go 8.
8. That's another movie theme. What movie title would best explain your life?
Oh, wow.
Titanic.
That's my career, that's not my life. That's my life, that's a tough one, isn't it?
If you played next to Sean at Forrest Gump.
Did he not say my left foot? That's a real hard question.
Dumb and Dumber.
What?
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. Well, that could be. I don't know who the dumber one would be, but was that just me and Sean and playing together?
Yes, all I'm going to go back to is look at the percentage win rates that we had when we played. When we started games, we won the majority of our games. That's a start for you, Peter. Go and find that one.
I will do, mate.
Aye.
That's a good one, isn't it? So if I scored and we played together, we never get beat.
Exactly.
Yep.
John, I've got 5 starts for you here, so.
To be fair, Big Butch didn't understand that. Every time I tried to any chance to let us play.
Now, you must have some sort of crazy stories to the dressing room at Fir Park. Come on, somebody spill the dirt.
Yeah, so the night in the Joker, when I was off dressed up fancy dress.
Fancy dress.
It started early doors, didn't it, in the boxes.
But the Joker in Bells Hill?
Aye. Remember that it started, a couple of the boys were still rough. And you know who I'm talking about, he's went in a lunch. And there was a wee confrontation on the training pitch, and it spoiled over into the toilets in the Joker.
That was a good night, to be fair.
That was a good night.
We're all dressed in fancy dress, so obviously then you had to pick out a hat what you were wearing, but I think I was Wonder Woman that night. And there was some unbelievable outfits. I think I actually found the picture the other day, everybody dressed up, but there was like Catwoman. I think it was all women actually. Everybody.
That was.
I can't remember. Big Wally was like Little Bo Peep or something. I can't remember.
Big Richie had a good outfit.
Big Richie, aye.
Big Richie had he came in the high heels and everything.
Scotty McDonald's and others.
Aye.
But what I think another crazy one.
I can't remember what I was.
Sure.
I think I had the sausage on.
Still got them on the now.
Hey, you've got the private cameras in my house.
Right,
so you talk. Sorry, Peter. You're just quickly talking about trying to stitch. By the way, your message is good to you, Leanne Kerr. I texted her yesterday, and I'm saying, come on, send me a couple of pictures, because you obviously must have seen the boyhood photos of Sean, and they were pretty disturbing, to be honest with you. But she never responded at all.
Did she not?
That loyalty, mate.
No, that's just because she's blanking you.
I should probably use that daft stalker.
Right, so one of the other questions that I was going to ask, right, out of this sort of roulette was, see if you to invite 4 folk to a dinner table, who would it be?
Question. 4 folk to a dinner table. I would invite.
Wouldn't it be Sean because he eats his fingers?
No, he's not getting invited.
I never get invited to nothing.
Oh, Sean! Come on now. We'll invite you in a night out.
I'm already organised that. What do you mean you're no?
No.
He could tell me too much. He's seen me in a night out.
No.
Go for a cut of film. Denzel Washington.
Wow.
Like a bit of Denzel. Love his films and that.
He's never been in a bad movie.
Never
No.
been in a movie. I don't think he has been actually. Love him. See, no, we're talking about any day for the other. See, when he's in film, absolutely love watching him.
Equalizer, brilliant.
Quality. They're all quality. Everyone on his own is brilliant.
Aye.
Paul Gascoigne, and I'm not even a Rangers fan.
But he's Newcastle, so I'll give you that.
So you get a good drink with him and a great laugh.
And he pays for it because he's generous.
Aye. The stories could be humorous though.
Kels, will see the thing is though, you'll fall asleep.
Aye.
Kels was one of these guys that go to a nightclub, sit beside the speaker, music's blaring like fuck, and when you 10 minutes later, Kels was getting it big says, right against the speaker. He on the speaker, sleeping.
Sean.
Many times has that happened, Kels.
Sean. I know.
You used to nudge me. That happened once or twice. A night.
A night. So,
got two more in there.
Yes.
Aye.
I need a singer. Always need a singer.
Depends on what sort of music you're into, though, Brian.
I'm a bit acoustic.
Adele,
A bit
Elton
acoustic.
John.
No, none of the kind. I don't know if you ever heard Passenger. If you've no,
Nah.
I bet you, Magnif.
That's Sean Fagan.
Hey.
No, actual Passenger.
No, on the pitch.
And then I need a big darling. You always need a big darling at the table.
I hope you're going to see Leanne, for fuck's sake.
No, I said you always need a big darling at the table. I'll go for I better not say her. I better say Leanne, will I?
Your choice, mate.
Nah, she's not getting in.
She doesn't make it. She doesn't make the cut.
It'll be interesting to hear yours, Sean. I don't think you mentioned one.
Let me hear your phone. While I'm thinking about my
See
phone.
the thing is, Peter, you put people on the spot and they just go blank. I know. I can understand how Brian is. You done it. I never even mentioned one. I didn't mention Paul Lambert just because I wanted to fight him.
You did mention Paul Lambert.
I'd probably say Roy Keane. Just
Did you want to fight him and all?
Oh, just for pure banter. I think he's brilliant. See on that on the Sky Sports, I think he's brilliant.
Michelle
plays up to it.
my fourth.
What?
Michelle Keegan was my fourth.
Oh, there you go. You pulled one out the bag there.
So that's me getting an actor, a player, a singer, and a big darling.
I
Or a
think
wee
you said her
darling.
as well, Sean.
Is that?
I think you said her as well.
I said Michelle as well, aye.
Did you?
Aye.
All right. Anyway, you get by that. Your two previous clubs, Motherwell and Hibs, were playing at the weekend. Did you have a watch over the game, and what's your thoughts?
No, I watched it. I thought for the first 60 minutes, Motherwell were a bit defensive and probably didn't show their real self. But after that, the last 25-30 minutes of the game and then into extra time, I thought, what, they might nick that, because that was as good as he played. As soon as they brought Tony Watt on, the difference was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, scores, gets back to 2 each, and I think there was only one winner at that point. But unfortunately, it wasn't to be.
Because they started off, I think, was it 3 at the back?
Aye, they had a wee bit of change in shape. 3 at the back to start with, and then they changed that shape once Tony comes back on.
And then obviously they went to 4-3-3 and the 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
So I mean, they seem to work that way. And as you say, you get a better sort of response off the players.
Definitely. You go. I mean, cup games are like that, innit? If you go 1 or 2 behind, it's almost like, you know what, we've nothing to lose. And I actually really enjoyed that. Watching Motherwell for that part of the game. Certainly that last half hour, I thought, they were really dynamic. They were going at it. They were creating chances and going forward with a real desire to go at least get something out of the game, and they managed to do that. But I think they put so much into that, probably the last half hour, whatever, just towards the end. You know, they tired a wee bit again, and Hibs maybe had one or two chances towards the end.
See, with regards to the 18s and the reserves, Kezo, are you trying to emulate what the first team are playing, or do you just get a free license to do whatever?
No, it's a tough one, Jace, because we try and look at the academy and have a philosophy and an idea throughout that. We try and look at the first team and take ideas from it and shape up as much as we can, but at the same time, that's difficult as well because managers come and go. So if we continue to change it every time a new manager comes in, then it makes it difficult. Yeah. Certainly the academy side of things, with reserve games, definitely we would look to try and emulate what the first team do, so that any first team players coming down are getting the same message and same ideas that they would get there. But I think with the academy, we've got to be careful with that we don't create a full philosophy around the manager and then he goes and it's like, right, rip that up, let's start again. So we need to make sure that we keep that as kind of as structured as possible from the 11s to certainly 16s of the academy side of things.
Mm-hmm.
As they go to 18s and reserves, we'll try and change it and implement as much of the first team ideas as we can.
Because you're up against a very strong Hibs side. And I quite like to look at Hibs. I think they're a fantastic team. Especially, I like Newell.
You've got a fancy for him. That's every week you've said that.
I do like him. Not in that sense, but I think he's a really good player. But they've got a lot of pace in that team.
Yeah, that's a good side. I think Nisbet's been unbelievable for them this season. Yeah. Boyle has got real pace and can cause any team problems. They've got, I think the good thing about them is they've got so many different players. They've got the height of Doige, they've got the pace of Boyle, they've got Nisbet who can hold it up and go in behind and score goals. So they can score for so many different areas, and that's probably what makes them exciting, and they've got attacking full-backs as well. So it's an exciting team that can go and do things. I mean, the challenge they got is try to keep that group together, isn't it?
I think Nisbet's on to a big move in the summer, I think.
Definitely.
What were you going to say, Sean?
Sorry, Kelso, see for me, one of the unsung heroes, and because I've seen a lot of him when he was at Hamilton, I think Gogic has been different class for them.
Absolutely brilliant. I think I agree with that. Faisal, I think the exact same. I think just somebody sitting in that area and giving them, breaking things up, and he doesn't just do that. He's got more to his game than that, but he's a real stalwart in there that will stop attacks, that will win tackles, that will get dug in, and then he goes and gives the ball to some of the boys around about him that will go and finish off the job. But the job he does is unbelievable. They've missed that over the last couple of years, and him being in there certainly made a massive difference. And probably, like you said, you'll see it more than anybody. Him being out of the Hamilton team,
massive loss.
A huge role, so what they've gained, Hamilton have lost.
Yeah, definitely. Now, obviously being involved in analysis, I like looking at stats and stuff. So we'll have a wee look at the Motherwell passing. So that's their passing. So O'Donnell, he's the one that's sort of most amount of passes.
Yeah.
And that was going up to, was it Long?
Yeah.
So these sort of things, I don't know whether you being coaches will be able to tell me better if that's something that you look at in more in depth, or you just go with the flow of the game, or I mean, how would you sort of rate these sort of stats?
I mean, to the naked eye, it looks like it's quite direct, but at the same time, O'Donnell likes to get forward a lot, so he's an attacking fullback that likes to go forward, and a lot of the passes might not be as direct as they might seem or look on that, on the stats here, because that could be from a more attacking area, or it might just be sort of short diagonal balls for wide into a striker's feet, or even crosses into the box. So there is an element of stats trying to create a picture, but you sometimes don't see exactly the real picture from start, certainly. But listen, I'm big. I like stats. I'm big on them, and I think they can tell you a story, but I think also they can only tell you half the story. I think
they don't tell you the full picture. It just starts to paint a picture, but it doesn't give you the full one, you know. Because we'll have a wee look at Hibs as well, comparison.
Peter, going back to that one, Kerzo, see when we played, he would have had to put one in for in the channel. Big boots, loved that one. Just put it in the corner. Put it in the corner. Floaty run.
I think we named that wee bit between the 18-yard box and the touchline was called Quality Street. So if you stuck a ball in Quality Street, then you'd done all right.
So obviously there's the Hibs one. The Porteous. What's your thoughts on Porteous?
I think Porteous came in, done great. I think he had a little bit of dip. I think he's starting to look good again. He can be very rash at times.
Yeah.
And sometimes his tackles, you're a wee bit like, you know, you can see that at times it looks like it's wholehearted, there's no doubt, but it can get a wee bit, you're worried about him getting sent off. But listen, he chips in with goals at times. He's done very well for them, for me, and I think, as I say, he's coming back into his own a wee bit. I think he had a little dip in form, but probably that went away. Maybe Hibs having a slight dip as well, but they seem to have come back, and he's certainly been a part of it.
Because you look at McGinn, I mean, he's obviously with 82 total passes.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal for what was it, right back.
Right back, aye.
And
they're again, to look at this, it looks like there's a lot of build-up play there, but even in that, I don't know, I see the numbers there, 15, 14. You know, you could almost say at times they're going a wee bit direct with McGinn, but it's not. It's because he likes to get forward and likes to get involved in attacks and stuff. So it is impressive though that both fullbacks are probably making the most passes in the game almost.
I mean, with Porteous, he oozes confidence, and he's certainly fearless. Yeah. I think guided the right way, the lad's got a big future. I mean, a lot of opposition fans don't like him because he's, as you say, some rash challenges and he goes in 100%. But he's a guy that, if he was in your team, you would love him to bits.
So true. There's loads of them, isn't there? There's loads of guys that you absolutely hate as an opposition, but if he played for you, you'd be delighted that he was in your team.
You'd be singing. It's like somebody like Sean.
I love playing with Kelso. In fact, sorry, I love watching Kelso.
It's so true though. I mean, he's wholehearted. He's all in, and like I said, can be a little bit rash at times, and probably that's why a lot of opposition fans kind of don't like him, because he maybe some of the tackles he's put in. But like we just said, on the other hand of that, if you're a Hibs fan, you know, you love to see it, the way he goes in and wears his heart on his sleeve and gives everything in his games. He's aggressive, and he'll go and do what he has to do to win games. It always happens that they're the guys that the opposition seem to hate, but all it does is make the club, his own club, Hibs at this point in time, fans certainly love him even more, because it's almost like if an opposition fans hate you, we'll just show that we like you even more. And listen, it's great for him, and I agree with you though. I think he could go on to bigger and better things at times, but only time will tell with him.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do is we'll try and have a wee look